Not Troy.
Hi, I'm Troy.
Hi, I'm Damon.
And we're here at Just Play Board Games in Shinjeju on South Korea's beautiful Jeju Island, and we are here to continue our series of board game reviews. And today we're going to talk about Dominion, and I have all the expansions here for Dominion, but we're going to just talk about the base game for today. So right now I'm going to show you how to play it, see what's in the box, and we'll come back on the other side and have a little chat about Dominion.
Okay.
Okay, we have it here set up for a 4-player game. Each player gets 10 cards, 7 copper, and 3 estates. And they shuffle those cards together to make the deck, and then they create a hand of 5 cards. And on your turn, you're going to flip over your cards and show the rest of the players how many copper you have, or how many treasure cards you have, or action cards. And then with your treasure cards, you're going to purchase one of the action cards, victory cards, or treasure cards. So in this instance, this player has 4 cards, so they're going to buy a smithy. And on each card, you see in the bottom left, it has a coin with a number in it. That's the cost of the card for you to purchase. So this card costs 4 coins, and later on he's going to be able to take 3 extra cards from his deck into his hand during his turn. So he buys a smithy, or she buys a smithy. All of the cards from that turn go into your discard pile on the left-hand side of your playing area. And then you get ready for your next turn by getting your 5-card hand ready. This person will do the same. When it comes back to you, you're going to flip over your cards again. And this person has 3 coins, so they're going to buy a silver card. And you can see, although the silver is only worth 2 coins, on the bottom here it says that it's cost 3 coins to purchase. Okay, so they get that. Everything goes into the discard pile, and once there are no cards in your deck, you reshuffle your discard pile to form a new deck, and you get a 5-card hand. And it's going to go around again, and then it's going to come to you. And now you're going to have action cards, and during play you can only use 1 action card unless otherwise stated on the card itself. So in this case, this player has a smithy. That person will get +3 cards, so they take +3 cards from their hand. And now they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coins, and they can buy. You can only buy 1 card per turn, so they can buy any of the cards. This person elects to buy a gold. A gold is worth 3 coins, but to purchase it is 6 coins. And again, all of those cards go into your discard pile, and you make a new 5-card hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. I only have 4 cards in my deck. I need another card. I take my discard pile, I shuffle the cards, and I get 1 more card. And this goes around and around and around until the provinces are gone, or 3 of these decks are gone, at which point the game ends and you add up your green cards, and whoever has the most points wins. So there you have it. That was Dominion, and like I said, I have all of the expansions here, and the mechanics of the game don't change very much. It just adds a little bit of flavor to the game each time you get an expansion. I haven't opened the ball, but I really enjoy the fact that I have, what, 1, 2, 3, 6 games, 6 Dominion expansions, or 5 Dominion expansions in the base game. And the replayability, because of that, the replayability is endless. There are so many possibilities. In the game I said you take 10. If you add the expansion, you still only get 10. So I have an app on my phone that allows me to, it tells me take 2 of these, 2 from the base game, 2 from Alchemy, take these 3 cards from Seaside, those 2 from Intrigue, and it makes a different hand, a different flavor every time. So we were talking about the level of this. The level that you teach is obviously higher than mine.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching it for, I can teach it for a little bit different levels. I can teach that for beginners, and I use cards like the Market. Maybe I'll just paste this up here. But I use cards like the Market and the Laboratory that has very little reading. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but they still have to.
Right.
They still have to explain what they're going to do. So,
Yeah.
so what they're going to say is, I'm going to play the Market. I get, because get is a hard word for them to get, I find,
Okay.
for beginners.
Yeah.
So I get +1 card, I get +1 action, I get +1 buy, and I get +1 coin. And they have to say that. They have to explain exactly what the card is going to say. If I have very high level kids, then I'm going to use something like the library, where you draw cards until you have 7 in your hand. You may set aside any action card, blah blah blah. So it's a paragraph that they have to read.
Yeah, and actually I didn't even think about that when I was designing my instructions for the game, because I kind of created a simplified set of instructions, and I actually have my students work out the instructions within the classroom. And then they organize the game, and I'm certainly there to assist them in any way possible. Yeah, I didn't even think about like the way of choosing cards based upon the student's abilities.
Right.
I just kind of went with the core, 10 cards that the original game suggests.
Right. Oh, sorry. Just to be clear, I teach elementary school and middle school students who are mostly beginners. I mean, most of my kids are beginners. Damon teaches university students who are trying to become elementary teachers, elementary school.
For the most part, intermediate level.
So, explain to me how you use the game in the classroom then?
Well, so for example, like, so I have a simplified set of instructions, and I give the instructions to the students, I give them the game, and I say, all right, go ahead and play the game.
Okay.
And I don't really teach them how to play the game. At the same time, though, I am there to assist them, and anytime that they have questions for how to play the game, or any questions that they have about the way to use a card or something like that. So I'm certainly there to assist them, but I allow them to kind of figure it out.
So what's the goal then? If you're going to use this game in your classroom, what's the end goal?
Again, these games here I think are more for building automaticity rather than acquiring language. Although there certainly is some language acquisition that occurs when, like you were saying, for example, let's say, for example, the word get, that maybe the students have not normally used that language in the past, and then they're trying to say something, and then you're there and you assist them and you say, oh yeah, okay, yeah, so you can get this with this card, and so in some respects there now you're modeling the language, you're modeling the appropriate verb that would be used in that situation, and also there's a context and an action associated with the language that you're using. So then
and for me it's tangible.
It is very tangible.
You actually get stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's what I mean by the context and the action is that there's something there that is actually occurring commensurate with the language.
Right.
So that would be an opportunity for language acquisition.
Right.
But at the same time also though is that a lot of my students they have like the language for especially like these cards like market. So a lot of it becomes automatic, where we're just improving kind of their language fluency through the course.
Talking about automatic, I've played this with university students too, who are also beginners, and they struggled through this, and we struggled through this. Now this is a 45-minute game. If you know how to play the game, it's a 45-minute game tops. And we were playing this game in 2 hours when we first started it, which is a long game for Dominion.
But now were the university students that you were playing with for 2 hours, was their interest in the game continued over that? Over that 2 hours? Like they didn't get bored of it. And that's one thing that I found with Dominion was that the students in my classrooms, we have a set time constraint, so that we can't go over, and yet the students are engaged in the game for the entirety of the 45 minutes. I think that's what's actually most important, more important than anything else, is that are you able to keep the students' level of engagement over the course
of a period of time. That's my challenge. Especially, for instance, yesterday I had an alpha beginner who speaks absolutely no English, and we played a game, Stone Age. Did you play Stone Age?
I know which, because you showed it to me last time I was here, and actually I was going through the...
With Stone Age, there's a little bit, there were 4 players, so there's a little bit of downtime. And when he wasn't playing, he was, making little structures with his meeples and with his resources. And because of that, when it came back to him again,
He was lost.
He was lost, and he had to think about it and think about it. And it wasn't just him. It was another high-level kid that was doing the same thing. So to keep your interest is very, very important. And with this game, I mean,
The turns are fast enough.
well, now they are. I was with the university students that it took 2 hours. Now, literally, it takes us 20 minutes to play this game, and it's a speed thing because they know the cards now.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I put these in, they have to read the cards a couple times, but then they know and they know. They know. With my elementary kids, even the beginners or the intermediates, I don't want to say intermediate because most of my kids are beginners. They're starting to understand now that, like you said, it becomes automatic. They put down, I get +1 card, they do it. Then I get +1 action, and then they do it. They go over to another card. I get +2 cards, they do it. So the game becomes quicker and quicker, but for me, it's language acquisition and language use, proper grammar use. I'm going to, and then afterwards, after they do it, I'll ask them, what did you do there? And then they have to say it in the past tense.
And I think that that's where philosophically Troy and I are a little bit different in that respect. So, for example, for me is that I don't, in my classroom, I don't set expectations for the language that I want the students to use, whereas it sounds like, and I know that Troy wants the students to say words. One of the things that I really like about this game, in regards to Dominion, is that I don't tell my students that, hey, you have to say what you're doing. But at the same time, the students, and again, I don't know if this would be the same for low-level students, but for my intermediate students, is that they end up doing that anyways,
Right.
naturally, because their rivals, their classmates are saying like, hey, what are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing?
I play with a guy like that who hides his cards, doesn't show anybody,
Doesn't
and
show
says,
anyone,
and
says,
says, I'll take this.
Yeah.
I said, well, come on,
Yeah.
I want to see what
Exactly.
you're
You
doing.
have to show us what
Yeah.
you're doing.
He
You have
said,
to
no, I don't make
explain.
mistakes. Like,
And
all right, and he does it for every game. I'm talking about you, Chris.
oh wow.
Yeah, I name
no, you
names.
can't.
I
you
name
can't do
names.
that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So, he knows.
Yeah, no, I mean like, yeah. So in some respects, it's like the students actually, and because of the mechanics of the game, the students actually end up kind of constraining the expectations for the behavior and expectations for the language use. So that's what I really actually like about this game, is that there is so much conversation going on in the classroom without me compelling students to, hey, you need, I have my expectations that students are not supposed to be speaking Korean in the classroom.
Right.
They are only using English, but at the same time though, I'm not there telling them like, hey, you have to say this, you have to say this,
Right.
and yet they're saying those things because of the dynamics.
Right, and that happens to me with my university classes.
Mhm.
Or class. I know in my university class at the college too. So that happens to me when you get to I don't think it's a level, it's an age.
Yeah, it might
Because
be
right
an
now,
age.
I'm working with 9, 10, 11-year-olds, and they will not do it. They will not say it. They'll look and they'll speak Korean.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so that's,
Right.
they're at that level right now. So I always say, what's your card say? Which card are you going to play? So I'm always prompting them to speak English. I'm
Yeah.
always asking questions.
Yeah,
and I have to if they don't.
And again, yeah, no, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be doing that because
Right.
because it's probably given like the situation that you're in with your students.
Mm-hmm. However, having said that, playing this game a couple times, and I think this happens with all my games. I know this happens with all my games. Less and less do I have to ask them to explain their cards. So
As it becomes habituated.
it becomes an expectation, right? They know I expect them to
Right.
do this.
Right.
So
Yep.
so now I get they get the marker card and I won't say anything, and some of them will say, I get +1 card, I get +1 action, I get +1 buy, blah blah blah. So yeah, I mean for me in this setting I'm here for language acquisition, so I want them to speak as much English as possible, and I'm not overt about telling them you have to learn this, you have to learn this, you have to learn this. I just want them to speak English while playing the game,
And-
without prompting,
Yeah.
without echoing.
And that's, I mean, again, today we're focusing on Dominion, and in a broader sense, is that this is where I really see like the strength of games as being, is that language is, in many respects, the learning of a language is a habituation process. And this is where I find that like the games are excellent at providing a kind of vehicle for motivating the habituation
Right,
of
right,
using
right.
the language in a pragmatic way.
And the challenge for me, the challenge is to get them to come out of here and say, for instance, I have a market, so I can buy two cards. So it's to get them out of saying, or not out of it, but to get them to relate that language outside the game. And that's my challenge.
Yeah,
Because
and that's a
some
big
of my
challenge,
friends,
a big-
like my kids, all day long yesterday, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this. At the end of the day, I said, how do you say halkoyo in English? They had no clue.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge there, is try to get them out of there.
And this is, but I mean, this is also though, I mean, this is, you'll have students that are performing well within their elementary school, middle school on a test, but then once they get outside of the classroom, you know, they're not really able to use that language. So I mean,
Right.
it's, you know, that's not just a failure of your approach.
No.
I mean, that's a
That's
general failure of the entire approach to the, you know, of us having, you know, the language kind of like separated from their everyday lives.
Right. Not a failure at all, but it's
No.
a challenge for me.
A challenge.
To
a
get
big
them
challenge.
to get them to speak in a way.
Apply it within a different context.
Yeah, apply it within a different context.
Yep.
Thank you for giving me the words there. Maybe I should play more games. We talked about theme earlier. This doesn't really have a theme. It's really pasted on. When I buy a library, I don't feel like I'm actually buying a library or building a library. And I like it. I don't mind that. Some other games, I want a strong theme. And when I, let's take for instance a Steam Park. When I'm playing Steam Park, I feel like I'm actually building a theme park. You know, there's dirt, I have to acquire dirt, there's garbage, I'm building tents, I'm building rides. So I feel like the theme is really, really good on that one. Tikal, we're going and going through, what's it called?
Jungle?
Yeah, but Guatemala. Is it Guatemala? Northern Guatemala?
I don't know.
I hope so. I sure hope so. Anyway, I feel like I'm exploring and finding treasures and digging up temples and taking control of those temples. So the theme is really great. This one, I don't care that it's pasted on. I like it because it's actions and actions. It's and it's quick.
One of the strengths that I like of this game is, let's say, for example, a card like Library, is that you have the word, the word, and then you also have the imagery, which again should facilitate again language acquisition.
Yep.
Is that you're able to have some sort of image schema that then ends up being associated with the language. Now, some of the imagery, such as like I think like the throne room or something like that, you know, I don't think kids are going to get anything out of that.
No.
Because there's no real focus of the image. But again, I'm sure, but of course the people that were creating the game, they didn't have that in mind. But that's
Right.
actually one benefit, though, I think, of the game, is I actually think that like kids,
Moat.
you know,
Moat's
can
a good example.
moat. Yeah, the moat would be a good
It's
example.
actually a moat.
You know, is that and so like, yeah, as you use the different expansion sets, wider variety of vocabulary that the kids are exposed to, and these are not necessarily easy words either. You know,
Nope.
they're and so you might have kids that are walking away and now they know like what a council room is,
Yeah.
right? Or
Oh, that's true. My kids asked me, "What's a council room?"
Mhm.
And I said, "Well, I don't really know what a council room is per se, but I explained the word council, and you know, broaden that out to the council, like a city council, and a counselor at school and stuff like that. So like you say, yeah, it's a vocabulary acquisition.
And anytime the
that's great.
kids are asking questions, that's a learning opportunity right there, because then you know exactly where their interest and where their focus is at that specific moment.
Yep.
And so that's excellent. That's
Yeah.
great.
So, all in all, I think Dominion is a fantastic ESL classroom game. Two really good reasons. One is the time, because I know most ESL classrooms are 40 minutes, 50 minutes tops. Me, I have 2 hours, so I usually get 2 or 3 games in during a session. And the other thing is it's great for different levels. If you have a low level, I pick out the cards that are simply one word, like +1 card, +1 buy. And then once they get above that, then I start picking out more cards with more text on it. So for me, it's one of my favorite games to bring out. My kids like it. For the most part, my kids like it. Some of them don't really like it. I love deck building games. I think deck building is my favorite mechanic of all games. So this one is a great game for me. Thank you to Damon for coming over and helping me out today.